Hello everybody, welcome to UK Gaming Network. I'm Zoidberg. Joining me in this very special chat where we're going to discuss our favourite games of 2022. We have UKGN Teru.
Hi!
And we also have UKGN Pad, whose internet is playing up a little bit at the moment, so that's why he's not on camera. But good evening.
Hello.
But good evening, Pad.
Hello. I was a bit early then, sorry.
So that's fine. So basically what we're going to do in this video is we're going to go through some of our favourite games of the year in the order that they were released, discuss each one, and then we will hopefully be able to choose a game of the year at the end. So simple as that, really. So let's get underway with the first game on the list. So for the first game, we have Nobody Saves the World, which was a top-down Zelda-like roguelike from the same developers that made Guacamelee. This was released on Xbox, PlayStation, Switch and PC, and it came out on January the 17th. Has anyone other than me played this one?
No.
No.
Is it a Game Pass one?
It is on Game Pass, yes.
Right. Well, then I shall set it downloading shortly. It seems to have slipped me by, that one, I'm afraid.
But basically, everything. If you played Guacamelee, you'll know that the developer have a good sense of place in their titles. And Nobody Saves the World. You basically play like an anonymous little human sprite who can morph into about 30 other different characters, all of whom have different abilities. And it's all presented in a cartoon style. And like I say, it's viewed from above like Zelda. And you
Is it like a top-down version of Boy and His Blob?
It's not that cartoony. But basically, you just explore the world. You go to dungeons and kill enemies. Different enemies have different elemental weaknesses, that kind of thing. But it's really, really well made, really entertaining, and it looks fantastic. So game number 2 was released also on Game Pass on January 20th, and this was Windjammers II, which sequel to one of UKGM Pad's favourite games, I believe. And I believe you have played this one.
Love Windjammers.
And I believe
I have played Windjammers too. And yes, it's good, but it's not as good as the first.
And is there any reasons as to why it's not as good as the first?
It didn't feel right. The animations didn't feel right. The hitboxes didn't feel right. It just wasn't as clean as the first. There was too much that they tried to add into it. Some of the bonus stages took a while to get used to. Whereas in the first one, it was just the bonus stages you could just pick up and go because they were arcade.
Well, I can't
so
really.
You knew what to do just by looking at it.
The bonus stage where you have to catch every single frisbee that's fired at you from the other side, I really struggle with.
Yeah, I mean, there's an achievement for doing that one. I don't think that many people have it.
Well, with what you say of it not being as good as the first game, I think that's probably because the first one is so good.
Yeah,
and the second one is not bad by any stretch of the imagination. It's just not as good as the first. So it's definitely a game that's worth playing. And if you enjoy it, then you should seek out the original.
It's good. It's good in the way that it works on a console. The first one doesn't work on a console. You can't use analog stick with it. It just doesn't feel right. You need a stick. You need a stick, and you need the Neo Geo 4-button setup for it as well.
Maybe that's
even
why,
though it's only a 2-button game. You need the 4-button setup to make it just feel right. It only works in certain arcade cabinets.
So next game, Pokemon Legends Arceus, released on January 28th on the Nintendo Switch, and I think you can tell which member of the team has played this one by what she is sharing the camera with. So Teru,
my little alone full pics. Yeah, there it is.
So Teru, tell us.
That's what that is.
Yep.
So Teru, tell us all about Pokemon Legends.
Well, after many, many years of the Pokemon formula essentially being the same, with only little bits added onto it. Pokemon Arceus is probably the first one where it's actually a shake-up of the main formula without it being a spin-off. Like, instead of you being attacked by Pokemon, you're the one attacking the Pokemon. Really appreciate the fact that there's not two versions of essentially the same game, and it's not that everyone's getting the same experience out of it, because it's still got enough to their not quite open world, because it got the hub area and the different areas of the island that you're on, but there's still enough there to make it a unique experience, but everyone's going through the same journey.
And how does it rank compared to other Pokemon games?
I think because of the new format of how you catch your Pokemon and how you traverse and how you go through the world, it ranks pretty high up, to be honest. It's certainly one of the better ones. Like, maybe play one of the black or white for a more traditional Pokemon game. But then, if you want something want a different experience of the Pokemon world, this would be your next bet.
For the next game, it's one of the games that I've enjoyed the most this year. It is Sifu, which was released on February the 8th for PC and PlayStation. And it has recently also had a release on Switch, I think, in the last couple of months, towards the end of the year. Anyone played this one, or is it just me again on this one?
Just you.
Just me.
Just you, but I did enjoy watching you play it, because it's a very cinematic game to watch.
Well, if you don't know anything about it, Pad, it is it's a martial arts fighting game where you basically run through like derelict warehouses and like fight your way through waves of goons. But it's not a Streets of Rage style one. It's more third-person action game, so you actually have to time your hits and time your blocks. So it's not an arcade game. It's more it's a lot more challenging than that. Certainly on the higher difficulties. I mean, even on normal difficulty, you can't button bash to get through the levels. You have to make sure that you're not taking on too many people at the same time. Try not to get surrounded. And there's one absolutely fantastic sequence in the first level that basically sets the scene for the entire game, where you've probably not seen it, but there's a film called Old Boy,
right,
and it has a one take fight scene in a corridor that's filmed entirely from the side, and basically Sifu does a game version of that. And when it does that section, you're just like, yes, I like this game. That's good. Well done.
There's also the aging mechanic in it as well for every time you fail.
Ah, yes. Basically, every time you die, your character gets 1 year older. So you gain experience but lose speed as you get older.
Right.
Next game on the list is one that's probably going to annoy Pad, but it's Olly World, which came out on February 10th for Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and PC.
Of what year?
This year. But it's basically the third game in the Olly series. If you've not played them, they're
I asked what year.
They're side-on skateboarding games. The first two games came out on, I think, the PSP first of all was the first thing they were released on before they came out on everything else. But Olly World basically just ups everything, ups the number of levels. It connects everything with the story. There's loads of characters on it, a lot of character customization on it this time, and it's got some of the most beautiful and colourful cartoon graphics you'll ever see.
I played the original.
And
I wasn't a fan.
And you didn't like it.
I wasn't a fan.
But it came out in February. It's been a game that I've gone back to many times in the months since. For the next game, I'm not sure whether this is one of the best games of the year or not, but I know it's one that you Pad have played, so therefore you'll be able to give us some insight into it. Released on February the 18th for PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, was Horizon Forbidden West.
Did you have to have it in the Game of the Year?
Well,
can we just scrap that out of Game of the Year? It's not deserving of it. No. Just leave it as that. It's fine. Move on. Next game.
Move on to the next. But anyway, let's move on to the next game on the list, which is Soul Cresta, developed by Platinum Games, released February 22nd for PlayStation, Switch, and PC. I can pretty much guarantee that neither of you two have played this one.
No, but I forgot that it had come out, and now that you've reminded me, I will be downloading it later because I was a big fan of Moon Cresta and Terra Cresta.
Yes. It's basically a fantastic upward-scrolling bullet hell shooter with a fantastic soundtrack. Absolutely love the music on this one. And the weapon system looks complicated, but isn't in the slightest.
Terra Cresta's weapon system was a bit bizarre, but
it's the way the way that you like navigate the three different ships into different formations to create weapons that fire in different directions. It looks confusing, but isn't.
Right.
So it's like if you were to watch somebody play it, you'd be like, "What the hell?" But then if you actually pick up the controller and play it yourself, you're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I understand that now." So next game is From Software's Elden Ring, released February 25th, Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. I played this one for approximately 2 hours before I realised that it's very nice, but not for me.
Elden Ring, everything about it is just really satisfying. I mean, the weapons that you can use, the armor that you can take, the enemies that you kill, is just everything's done so well, and it's polished so nicely. I mean, it's not... I've never seen any type of bug in it. I know there were some because this was such a popular game. It was like the AAA proof that single-player games are still a viable option. So there must have been bugs, but it was just such a good game to play, and everything you did was like an achievement, whether it was you killed this enemy, you got to this bit on the map, you just found some NPC to talk to. It was just such a good game to play, and especially if you got it straight away and you discovered everything as part of the community that came around it.
Well, yeah, I think this is it's a game that even though I didn't play myself, I could tell it was good. It just wasn't one that I particularly wanted to play myself. But it felt like it was an event. It was a game that everyone was playing and talking about. So, like, even at work, there were about four different people who were all playing it, and they were all having conversations while in work, talking about discoveries that they'd made the night before. And the only time that I can remember that happening previously was when Elder Scrolls Skyrim came out. And what was that, 10 years ago? So
more than 10 years ago.
It's not something like that doesn't happen very often. Next game is Gran Turismo 7, which was released on March the 4th for PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. Now, I know Pad has played this one as well.
I have played it. I have put lots of hours into it.
Now, I think it is the best mainline Gran Turismo game since Gran Turismo 3. Because I think it gets the Gran Turismo side of things more right than any of the games have done in the interim. The whole cafe thing of all the challenges I absolutely loved, but once you got to the end of that cafe, I started to get very bored very quickly.
I agree that 3 is the best Gran Turismo. I liked 7. I did like 7. But the thing that the thing that kind of made upset it a bit for me was the developers. They wanted too much, or they wanted to give you too little. They wanted you to suffer. They showed us before it was released, you've got the map screen back. The thing that Gran Turismo was all about was this map screen that you could go anywhere. You could, as long as you had your license, you could just shoot off and start doing your endurances.
Yeah. However, most of it was locked when you first loaded it up. In this instance, yeah.
In 7, it's just no. You've got to progress through it. So you've got this map screen, makes it look and feel like it's an old Gran Turismo, but it's not. You've got to progress through a story. Everything that you do is right. Go back to the cafe. Then you've got the next section. Now go back to the cafe, as you say. Then go to the next section. Then go back to the cafe. Oh, you can't afford a car here. Well, what did you used to do in the old Gran Turismos? You used to go back and do the Sunday Cup or whatever you needed to do to get your money back up again.
And I believe in updates that have been coming recently, you can actually now sell your cars.
Right.
Which should have been in the game when it launched.
That was what Gran Turismo was about. You couldn't afford your car. You go and do the Sunday Cup a couple of times. Get the next upgrade. It's what Gran Turismo was all about, was going back and racing again for it all. Upgrade your car, then go back again. And then they decided, no, you can't do that anymore. We're going to make the cars stupidly overpriced.
Well, I've always said
we're going to make it so that you pay for them. We're going to make it so... I do know that they apologised and everything after doing it, but it was just at that point I got that wound up with what they'd done that I stopped playing it.
I mean, I've always said that what Gran Turismo, what differentiates Gran Turismo from other driving games, is that in most racing games you are learning the track, whereas in Gran Turismo you're learning the car.
Yeah,
and that. So and you can then once you've perfected how one car is, you can then go back and start again and try a different car. I thoroughly enjoyed Gran Turismo 7 when it came out, and I did play it. Yeah. I did play it solidly for a good 2 months. I haven't played it since. I would be interested to go back and see what the updates have done to it.
Yeah, I would go back.
But anyway, next game. Next game is another one for Teru. Was released on the same day as Gran Turismo 7, but this one came out exclusively on the Switch and has recently had a PC release as well. And this is Triangle Strategy.
Yeah, Japanese RPG, turn-based fighting game. Well, turn-based strategy game.
That snoring you can probably hear in the background is probably Pad.
Yeah, that's me out.
I need to put a lot more hours into Triangle Strategy. I mean, I've only really got through the tutorial areas on it, and it's got the basis there for a really good game. But it's just difficult to get into it because, where with Elden Ring, it's not story heavy, so I don't have to concentrate on it. With Triangle Strategy, it is story heavy, so it's like, okay, what do I need to remember? Who are these characters? What am I doing with this? And that's all a good thing. It just means that I've got to dedicate more time to it and more brain power to it.
It's not a casual
game. It's not a light-hearted pick-up, here are these quirky characters. No, it's just the roster, just from the tutorial section, is getting almost 15 characters, and I believe that it could get even more.
And obviously Pad has not played it.
No.
So let's
not a fan of turn-based.
Let's move on to the next game. Next on the list is Tunic, which came out on Game Pass on March the 16th. Has since also hit PlayStation and Switch. And this is probably one of the prettiest looking games that you will play this year. Developed by a single person called Andrew Scholdice. It's a isometric action adventure game, very Zelda-like. You play as a cute little fox. There's no actual English dialogue in the game. All the dialogue is like Fez was all those years ago, the language in the game is one that's made up for the game, but unlike Fez, you don't have to learn it. You can kind of get the gist through what's happening. And I absolutely love the fact that a lot of the collectibles in the game are you collecting the game's manual, and you can then flick through the pages to find out what you got to do and look at the map, and it actually teaches you things that you didn't know you could do by finding the pages.
I haven't played it, but I have gone one step further, and it has been installed on my Xbox for quite some time.
Well, hey.
It's just one of those games, again, it's on that pile of, I need to play this.
There is a very light Dark Souls influence to it, in the way that when you die, you drop all your coins, and you then respawn at a little shrine that you've activated previously, and you have to go back and kill the enemy that killed you to get your coins back. So, next game, and we're back to one that I know Pad has played once more. Released on April 28th, Rogue Legacy 2.
Yeah. Played it.
This did not come out on Game Pass, however, we did buy it.
Yeah. Played it. Finished it.
And you played it. And you played it for many hours.
I played it solidly until I'd got every achievement on it. I was quite proud of that.
So what's good about it then, Pad?
It just feels better than the first. If you played the first, you'll love the second. And it just feels better. I don't know why it feels better. It just feels better. I mean, everything's still pretty much Rogue Legacy, but the second one just feels better. Well, I don't know why.
Well, it's got all the new character classes, which the first game didn't have.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is that
I do love playing. I do love playing as the barbarian with his big axe.
Yes, I love playing as the barbarian. The only thing is he is so overpowered in the game.
And you still got the full. Is it 1000G on that one?
Yeah, yeah. Even when they did some add-ons, it didn't put any more to it.
Because there is no DLC for it, is there? But
no, they did a couple of updates and things, but there was no extra achievements and stuff.
Well, it wouldn't be a roguelike in 2022 if it didn't have some updates coming out every couple of months, would it? Next game on the list is one that we don't need to talk about too much. It is Nintendo Switch Sports. Came out April 29th on the Switch. It's basically Wii Sports, isn't it? But looks nicer, plays just as well. A couple of the new events are great. A couple of the new events aren't great. The bowling's still... You
know how you're on the back of the Dizzy collection?
The bowling's still
with your quote.
Yes.
They should have really got you in for the Switch Sports with it's just a bit of Wii Sports, isn't it?
Well, it's funny you should bring that Dizzy collection up because the next episode of the re-review is about Dizzy games, and I will be talking about the Dizzy collection. But
I know it's on the shelf behind you if you want to go and get it and plug your little thing.
I'm not getting it right now, but I think that's enough of a plug for the upcoming video. But Nintendo Switch Sports looks as lovely as you would imagine a Nintendo game to look. And the fact
it has now added golf.
And the fact that it's now had the free golf update means it's even better than it was. So yes. So next game is The Quarry, which was released on June the 10th, developed by Supermassive Games. It came out on Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. Pad has not played this one.
All right. How'd you know that? I could have surprised you.
Because it's a horror game.
Yep. Yeah.
With jump scares.
Yeah, Kate, you got me. Yeah. I also have never heard of it.
Supermassive Games are the people that made Until Dawn and the Dark Pictures anthology, and from all the games of theirs that I've played, I would say that The Quarry is far and away the best of their games.
Ooh,
and I think that purely comes down to the characters. The characters in Man of Medan were bland and boring, and you wanted to punch every one of them. I can't even remember who any of the characters from Little Hope. House of Ashes, I think, was marginally better on the character front. So other than Until Dawn, this is the only game of theirs where the characters are memorable and you actually want to play as them and save them.
Yeah, well, unlike the Dark Picture games, this is more along the lines of just how Until Dawn was a love letter to like horror films. This is a love letter to slasher fix.
And it absolutely nails the slasher film aesthetic. And let's move on to another game that Pad has definitely played.
Yay!
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Shredder's Revenge came out on
Brilliant.
June 16th for Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch and PC.
Brilliant game. Just brilliant. If you like the arcade, it was. If you like Turtles in Time, if you like the original arcade game, it's brilliant.
I think
it works really well.
I think what you can tell with this one is that the developers have clearly a love for the original arcade games and have played them a lot.
Yeah.
Because
the only thing that got me is the fact that it's too much like Scott Pilgrim.
It doesn't feel cobbled together.
No. It's just a bit too much like Scott Pilgrim. You can see a lot of Scott Pilgrim in it.
I would agree that the way the map screen works is pure Scott Pilgrim, yes. And
the way that the levels are split in a way that you're going through different areas like that. Yes, you went through some areas in Tales in Time, but nothing like this.
So the next game is one that all three people here have played, and that is Power Wash Simulator, released on July 14th for Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and PC, and I believe it did go straight to Game Pass. What have you got to say about this one, Pad?
Apart from the original hiccup where you couldn't do it online because the game kept crashing, it's just a brilliantly relaxing game.
It's like
played noughts and crosses on it a few times.
It's like the perfect chill out game, isn't it?
It's the perfect chill out game. You can just do bits. The only thing is, you started to get a bit. Even though it was a chilled out game, you got a bit stressed towards the end. And you got stressed because the next level was just such a mess. Like,
yeah.
God's sake!
You'd like start a new level and be like, bloody hell, got to clean that.
Yeah. And things just got a bit. The levels got a bit too big, and you'd spend hours doing one level. Unless you had a mate with you, you'd spend hours doing one single level, and it was just.
I've still not finished cleaning the underground train station because I've been doing it on my own.
Yeah, I'll do it for you.
What
gives me something to do.
What I absolutely was not expecting with this game was the fact that it has actually got a storyline to it.
Yeah, that I didn't realise until about halfway through that it was an actual storyline, and it got a bit weirder, and then it got even weirder. I mean, you've only got to the station. Wait until you get further on, it gets weirder and weirder. The story
when it just started throwing all these things of like, oh no, the mayor's out of town and somebody's egged his house. You've now got to go and clean his house for him. It's like...
That's when I realised there was a story. That's exactly. Now you've just mentioned it. That was exactly when I realised that it was a proper story.
When I first saw videos of it, I thought, why would anybody want to play that? But then you pick up the controller and play it, and you're like, 5 hours later, you're like, oh, where did the day go? So I think we're all in agreement that Power Wash Simulator is definitely a game that everybody should play.
Yes.
Agreed.
Yes. Next on the list is a game that Teru has played on a live stream for us when it came out. This was As Dusk Falls. Came out on July 19th, and it's exclusive to Xbox on consoles and also available on PC.
Game Pass game, isn't it?
It is.
Which is probably the only reason why I did end up playing it on release.
I think this is,
it's a
from what I can tell from what I can tell from seeing it, this is the kind of game that had it come out 10 years ago would have been released episodically.
You're probably right about that. And it is, well, it's not even that type of game. It is a kind of choose your own story within the confines of the story that it's telling you. Really what makes it unique is the art style behind it. Like, you're not controlling a character and having them move around the scene like you would do in a Telltale game. It's they're not quite static shots, but but no, it's a gorgeous art style, and the story is quite compelling because it's
from what I saw,
two sides to the story of one family from the country who, thanks to their deadbeat dad, gets in debt, and they decide to rob the corrupt sheriff's house, which kind of goes wrong, and they end up at a hotel holding people hostage. And then there's the other side of the story, which is from the hostage's point of view, and nothing's really 100% good or bad for either side. So that's where your decisions come through.
Yeah, from what I saw of your live stream, it looked very much like a living comic book in its art style.
Yes. Mentally stimulating, but you don't have that. There's not really a lot of gameplay behind it, but it looks and sounds amazing, and the voice actors have done an incredible job on it as well.
So next game on the list is Stray, which came out on July 19th for PlayStation and PC. Basically a game for cat lovers. So have you played this one, Pad, or did you just watch?
I know I have played it. I had played it. I had to stop playing it because my cat didn't like it. And every time I played it, I got attacked.
Fair enough.
So I had to play it. The only times I had to play it was when the cat was upstairs asleep. But because it makes such a noise through the controller, every time you meow, he would come downstairs and with one paw raised and just attack me.
Yes.
So I had to stop playing it for my own health.
Now, I would say this game came extremely close to being my personal game of the year, and the only thing that stops it from being so is the final 20 minutes. The ending is just so incredibly disappointing.
Oh, spoiler.
The last it feels like the game is building to something, and it feels like it's reaching a crescendo, and like, right, we're now going to get the epic finale, and then it just ends. And that just and it was such a disappointment. But up to that point, fantastic game. I really enjoyed playing it, playing every bit of it up to then. And then it's like it rushes through the final section. Next game, 2 Point Campus, released on August the 9th for Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch, and PC, and it also went straight to Game Pass.
I played this not long ago because it was
because
it was one of the activities for the Microsoft Rewards. It was something that I've had installed for a while, and I've got to say, I was very impressed. It did just remind me of Theme Hospital. Now, I didn't play 2 Point Hospital much, but this reminded me more of Theme Hospital.
I will admit to being a teeny bit disappointed in 2 Point Campus because it's a little bit too similar to 2 Point Hospital. I was expecting it to be more different than it is. And I think that's the fault of the trailers rather than the game itself, because the trailers had a very strong Sims element to it, making it seem like you would be able to control individual students and like decorate their dorms for them and things like that, which is like what you would do if you were playing The Sims. And there's none of, from what I can tell, there's none of that.
With 2 Point Campus, this is going to sound like a negative, but I don't want it to be. But it's just more of the same of 2 Point Hospital. Now, 2 Point Hospital, I think, is a phenomenal game. And this is just kind of more of the same. It's still impressive. I still enjoy it.
I think the level of humor is fantastic. I think it's a really funny game.
It almost works against itself. The fact that it's still more of the same brilliance that we've come to expect. I'm just not blown away by it. Like, it's meeting my expectations of what I want it to be. The only one downside that I came across is that it's actually a little bit harder than 2 Point Hospital, in that the goals that you need to achieve to get your 3 stars on each university campus, they seem harder and a bit more of a slog. It's still a brilliant game, it's just more of the same.
Next game on the list, also released in August the 11th, Arcade Paradise. This is where you have to gradually turn a laundrette into a thriving gaming arcade. And
I know you love this game.
And it is a lot more exciting to play than that sounds. I think I've probably put more hours into this game this year than any other.
Yes. It did suffer a bit of what Vostok went through, though, which was achievements broken.
Yeah, I know you've...
There was too much of...
I know you...
When it first came out, the broken element of everything was just there.
Yeah, I know you suffered a lot with glitches in this one.
Yes. And weirdly, one happened though. If you remember, one of the glitches that happened was I went into one of the games, came out of it, and it told me that I'd done the goal. And I went back into the game, came out of it, and it told me that I'd done the goal again. And it just kept giving me coins, and it was just it was giving me the same coins for the same goal constantly. So I took advantage of that.
I think
and I ended up with like a few 100,000 coins in the game for no reason, just for like 15 minutes of join the game, quit the game, join the game, quit the game, join the game, quit the game of one of the arcades.
My only slight disappointment with this game is that the end game of it is pretty much non-existent.
Yeah.
So there's no incentive to keep remodeling your arcade. You can't personalise the what colour you paint the walls or anything like that.
No, the only thing you can do is just move the cabs.
So the actual playing the building the arcade and having to keep an eye on all your laundry and at the same time, all of that was thrilling and fantastic, and it like hours went by without you even noticing. And then once you get to the end and you just have an arcade, there's nothing to do other than just play the games.
Yeah.
And what it needs is it needs an online mode so you can invite friends in. I really wish that the developers of this game understood how Kicks works.
Yes.
because Line Terror is terrible.
Line Terror, yes. That is terrible. I think some of the arcades, the fact that they've done Wood Guy Jr. and Wood Girl Jr. is just annoying.
Yeah, that's stupid. But those are the kind of nitpicks that you only make when you really like a game.
I did enjoy it, but it's not my game of the year.
The next game is one that I wanted to talk about, which is F1 Manager 22. This came out on August the 30th, Xbox, PlayStation and PC. And this one is basically... it's what you get when you put a developer in charge of making a game who understands the type of game that they're making. Because this is made by Frontier Developments, who are the people that made is it Planet Zoo, Planet Coaster.
Yeah.
And they understand how to make a business sim. And F1 Manager uses the official license to look as good as it can look, but it understands how to make the managing your team something that you will enjoy and get engrossed in. And I enjoyed playing this more than I enjoyed playing F1 22 from Codemasters, where you actually got to drive the cars. And I think that's because there used to be a Formula One management game way back on the Spectrum, that I used to play for hours on end, and it brought back all those nostalgic memories of playing that, but with all the bells and whistles of the exclusive F1 license, and the fact that it's not a full price £50 game as well certainly helped. Next game is Metal Hellsinger, which was released on straight to Game Pass as well on September the 15th. Basically, it's a rhythm action first-person shooter.
Keep every now and then going to look at the video of it, going, do I want to play this? I kind of want to play this. I'm not sure if I want to play this. I'm not the biggest fan of first-person shooters.
But you do like...
but I do like rhythm games.
Yes.
It's also whether or not you like the soundtrack as well.
I'd like that soundtrack.
Yeah.
But
I think with Metal Hellsinger, that's its one weakness, is that if you don't like death metal, then you're not going to appreciate this game in any way. But it's extremely well made for an indie game. It's very slick, very fast moving, and I really enjoyed it.
Your Metal Hellsinger game needs a bit of soft rock, maybe a bit of Journey in there.
You get what I'm saying, though. If you're not a fan of Rammstein, why would?
God, I've not heard that heard about them since I was in high school.
Yeah, like if you're not a fan of Rammstein, you're not going to like this game. But anyway, on to the next one. Return to Monkey Island.
Haven't played. I've got it installed. I'm dying to play it. Can we skip it so you don't spoil it for me?
I'm not going to spoil. I'm not going to spoil it in any way, other than saying I was worried prior to its release because I didn't like the art style when I saw all the original screenshots. But when you actually play the game,
I don't think anybody is.
But when you play the game, it works, and the writing is as good as ever. The puzzles aren't quite as obscure as they were, but it's everything that you would want a new Monkey Island game to be. I don't think I need to say any more than that really on that one, and I certainly won't be spoiling anything in the way of story. Next is a game that actually came out in early access in 2020, but finally came out of early access on September the 23rd, and that is Proteus, which is a proper Doom style old school first person shooter. And when I say Doom style, I mean graphically it is like the original Doom, but with all modern lighting effects and ray tracing on reflections and everything. And it's ridiculously fast, incredibly playable. The level design is fantastic. It's unbelievably gory and so much fun. And we move on to another game that all three of us have played, Grounded, which is another game that finally came out of early access on September the 27th. This is the kind of console exclusive that Sony don't have. On Xbox, you've got Grounded and you've got Sea of Thieves, and on PlayStation, you've got nothing that can compete.
Grounded itself has got like quite a few elements to it that anyone can enjoy. Like I personally enjoy the base building quite a bit. I know Pad enjoys seeing something and go, let's check that out and let's go kill it.
It's kind of like
that's
the Leroy Jenkins complex.
That's
going on.
That's generally how Pad used to play Minecraft as well in the early days.
And Splinter Cell. Don't forget Splinter Cell.
No, Splinter Cell. You just revelled in switching lights on and then giggling as you ran out of the room, leaving me to face like a legion of guards that could all suddenly see me.
Yeah.
We've had fun trying to take on ladybugs, which we did successfully, and then those sodding spiders that come out of nowhere sometimes.
I've got to say though, I'm very impressed that they had an option to turn the models for the spiders into just spheres.
It's just a blob. Yeah.
Because I do have a real fear of spiders. So to have
Do you play
that,
it with that mode on?
well, yes, I have a real fear of spiders.
I wasn't 100% sure.
Yeah, so on my screen they're just spheres. That's fine. I'm happy with that.
So if you were to watch back the live streams of my side,
I've not watched them.
of my side of things, then you would see us getting killed by giant spiders.
I'd freak out.
Yeah. But I think it's really well made. There's so much to do and discover. I love the whole concept of the fact that you've been shrunk down and having to explore a back garden, and the 4-player co-op just enhances the experience no end. For the next game, we have A Plague Tale Requiem, which came out on October 18th. Xbox, PlayStation, and a rather forgettable Switch version, and PC. The Switch version. Yes, so the Switch version is one of those annoying cloud-based ones that I wouldn't recommend anyone ever plays. But on Xbox Series X, which is what we played it on, this is probably one of the most visually stunning games you will ever play. And I think
it's just all those rats.
And I think Pad,
all the rats.
I think Pad would agree with me on the visual side of things.
Yes. Up until that came out, the Matrix tech demo was just stunning. It showed off a little bit of where things were going with next gen or current gen now. Then I saw this game, and that little Matrix tech demo doesn't look so pretty anymore. It's the first time that I walked out from underneath an archway fairly early in the game. After the marketplace, I walked out once you've got to your home. I walked out from the archway, and when you can see the world in front of you, I stopped. And I think at that point, I actually think I took a photo of the screen or a screen grab and then sent it to Zoidberg and went, wow. I was very, very impressed by it. Visually, it's the one. So far, it's the one that if I had a friend coming over and they hadn't got a Series X, they haven't got anything like that, it's the one that I would go, you need to see this. This is what's going to convince you to get one.
But what I would also add to that is that in addition to the visuals, it's just a very satisfying stealth game to play. It's basically what The Last of Us would be if The Last of Us wasn't so concerned with screaming, hey, look at me, look how good I am, every 5 minutes. It basically just gets on with being a good game. Right, next game on the list was released on October 20th. Vampire Survivors.
Yay!
Never heard of it.
I think
really bad.
I think it's all those PlayStation owners who were posting on Twitter going, hey, look at this new game on Xbox, are probably going to would eat their words the moment they start playing it. Because yes, it looks like the most basic thing in the world.
It has no right being as good as it is. At all. Looks terrible. Concepts of it, terrible. Character development, terrible. Game, amazing.
If you were to watch somebody play it, you'd think that this is the most intense thing ever. But what I find is that it's actually really relaxing to play.
Yeah. It's really relaxing. Now, the one thing that the developers, they point out there how it's like roguelike and things like that, but to me, it feels more like a tower defense with one guy. It's you. But it works. And it's annoying that it works. You look at it, if you were to watch somebody else play it, you'd be thinking, yes, it's crazy, but you'd also be thinking, I don't get it. I don't get what's going on. I don't understand it. it looks crap. But if you play it, amazing.
It's just
Gameplay.
we were looking at some of the
Gameplay is
reviews
king.
on the Xbox for it.
Yeah, on the Xbox store, if you look at the user reviews on there, and it's basically just people saying, "Oh no, where did my night go? It's 2 a.m."
Yeah, I saw that the latest review was,
Yeah.
I can't believe I just wasted 5 hours.
Yeah.
Or just spent 5 hours on it
Yeah.
for £3.50 or £3.20 or something like that.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing. This game is £3.50.
If you were to buy it, but it's on Game Pass.
It's on Game Pass, so you could just play it anyway. But even if you didn't have Game Pass, it's only £3.50 to buy it. Why would you not?
Yeah.
Why would you not?
It has no right being as good as it is. But I would love to hug the developers.
And it's really bizarre how
it's one guy.
Though,
I'd hug him. I've got no problems hugging it. If he ever watches this, I'd hug you. You deserve it.
the thing that impressed me the most is that we've all been playing it, and we've all still managed to do it play it in completely different ways.
Yeah, we've each had our favourite character and our favourite setup, and it's just, it doesn't matter who you really go with, as long as it's your favourite. It's the way you play it. If you're good with that character, then it works. But I play with Poe quite a lot, who starts with garlic. But even like that, then Terry was like, "What? How could you?" I start with garlic because I can stand there for the first 2 or 3 waves, do nothing, and within that first 2 or 3 waves, I've already leveled up about 10 times.
Yeah, you'll just level up
because
level up
the garlic just allows me to stand there, and it brings all the experience to me rather than me chasing for the first 3 or 4 minutes.
And how many hours worth of gameplay would you say that you've had out of the game plus the DLC in total?
I will tell you if you give me 2 minutes.
You're going to go on True Achievements, aren't you? And see how long, and see how long it tells you you've played it for.
It won't take me long. Here we go. I've played it for 51 hours and 20 minutes.
That's not too bad. It's not too shabby.
For £1.50.
Yes. Best £1.50 you could spend this year.
Yeah.
Next game on the list, God of War Ragnarok.
Okay.
Not Vampire Survivors.
It's not Vampire Survivors, no.
I've not played it.
As a visual spectacle, unmatched.
Agreed.
Even a Plague Tale Requiem probably doesn't look as good as this one.
Okay, so now I need to play it.
However,
I
also find it incredibly disappointing because I was expecting more than just more of the same. While it is a technically impressive achievement that they do the whole single camera, like the entire game is as though it's filmed with a single camera and never cuts away, even for cutscenes. What that means is that you'll fight your way through a section, and then you'll have to make your way back through the whole section to get back to your house again to start the next bit. And the making your way back to the section is really boring because it's a section you've been through already. But because of its dedication to needing it to be a single camera, that's why it's all in there. And I don't like the banter between the two, between father and son. It starts to get a bit annoying. So some of the combat is really good. Visually, it's incredible, but definitely not worth £70 for me. And the only reason that I've put it on this list is because I know if we didn't put it on the list, people would be like, "Well, why didn't you put that on your list?" So by putting it here and explaining why, that's hopefully silenced those people. Although they're probably now going to complain about everything that I complained about.
Yeah.
At least we got it on rental though.
Yes.
and didn't actually pay that 70 quid.
No, I've literally paid a tenner for it. All 3 games that are left are all releases in December, or have all been releases in December. First one is Swordship, which I strongly recommend you play, and you probably haven't done yet.
I have played it, but I also have a 3-year-old who was also trying to play it, and obviously it's a bit too hard for him.
Yes.
So it's one of those. It's on my list of stuff to play after we finish this video.
Yes, I absolutely love it. It's proper arcade gaming. Just pick up and play. It's simple to learn, unbelievably hard to master. It does get the roguelike side of it kind of backwards. In other roguelikes, the more you unlock, the easier the game gets. Whereas in this one, the more you unlock, the harder it gets.
Right.
And so I've actually reached the point where I want to delete my save game, so that way I can go back to playing the original vanilla version of it to try and get the high score to unlock everything. Because everything is score based, but it's utter genius.
I've only played it for a few minutes, but I did enjoy those few minutes. But I've only played it for a few minutes because my 3-year-old was trying to play it because it's got boats in.
Yes. Released the day after Swordship, on December the 6th, was the Callisto Protocol, which is the spiritual successor to Dead Space, essentially. It's the sequel that Dead Space should have had, in my opinion. It's once again surprised me how much I like playing a survival horror game. It happens to me every time I pick up a Resident Evil game, like with all the modern ones, like Resident Evil Village. They suck me in, and I end up playing them all the way through to completion. And I have no doubt that that's going to happen with the Callisto Protocol as well. I'm loving it. The jump scares make you jump but aren't overly scary. The atmosphere is brilliant, and it makes proper use of the next gen hardware for its visuals. But it's obviously one that nobody else in this chat is going to play. But I really liked it.
Yeah, I've not played it.
I've watched you play it and seen how gory it is.
And
it's got some amazing death animations in there.
Yes, it has. What I will say is that I've seen a lot of people complaining about the combat, and I think I get why people are complaining about it, because if you try to play it like you're playing Dark Souls, you will die. Because Dark Souls, it's all about the timing of your attacks and your defense. On this one, the timing doesn't matter, so you can actually just hold the dodge button like a good second before the move comes on. You'll dodge. You don't have to press it at the right time. And then the final game to talk about today is Potion Craft, which we found out came out of early access on December the 13th, after Teru had played it on live stream for us probably last year now. I think it was with this one. Basically, run an alchemist shop.
Well, as you've just previously mentioned, you get your ingredients, put them in your pestle and mortar, boil them up, create a potion, different ways of doing it, and by following essentially the map on the screen on how to get to the different potions by using different ingredients. So it's not just use 2 of these or 3 of them, it's use one of these, and one of these. So there's more to it than just throwing stuff together.
Sounds like how I use my soup maker.
You get to experiment with the way that you make the potions, essentially.
But yeah, it's a nice quirky game, and because it's got a day cycle and how it works, you can just like do a day, and then come back to it at a later point, because it's not exactly skilled, so you can just keep coming back to it whenever you feel like it.
So that's all the games that we've enjoyed in 2022. There are probably some notable omissions on this list, because they're games that we've not played enough or just not played at all. So that's why you wouldn't see games like Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which I know a lot of people have liked. We've not played that at all. Terry has also not played Pentiment enough for us to have included that.
Oh no.
Kirby and the Forgotten Land, that also came out this year. I don't think I think I only played the demo of that. I didn't play the full game. So, game of the year then. What is your personal game of the year, Teru?
This is going to be...
Say it.
For the longest time, it was Elden Ring.
Say it.
But I'm just surprised how much this has blindsided me of how much I enjoyed it and had to keep going back and playing it. And I'm going to say it, Pad. It's Vampire Survivors.
Pad, what is your game of the year for 2022?
Windjammers 2. No, just kidding. It's Vampire Survivors. Of course, it's Vampire Survivors. I can't believe it's Vampire. It has no right being game of the year, but it is.
As I said earlier in this chat, mine was for a very long time. It was Stray. Until the ending just disappointed me so much.
If yours is Vampire Survivors, the developers of Stray are going to be pissed.
I think based purely on hours played, I think my game of the year is Arcade Paradise.
Ooh.
But I've been outvoted 2-1. So the UKGN game of the year for 2022, joining such illustrious previous winners as The Witcher 3, Dead Cells, Overcooked, and such. The game of the year for 2022 is Vampire Survivors.
Yay!
Thank you everybody for watching this video. Thank you Teru, thank you Pad for joining me for this chat. It's been
no problem.
It's been a lot of fun. And on that note, I will thank everybody once again for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I think we should try and do something similar to this on a more regular basis. And I hope I will see you all very soon on the next video on UK Gaming Network. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.